And even though Jacob was probably not 75 to 100 when that wrestling occurred, I think it is an apt description of the process of learning to detach that happens in later life. As we begin to ponder, what do all of these things I've collected around me for my life mean? As we look at career and family, as we look at possessions, as we figure out how much we need financially to get by, as our body weakens and no longer serves us as well as it once did, we are invited to walk in a new way and claim a new name, no longer defined by our possessions or even by our physical being. We move from a place of narrowness to a place of freely wrestling to then a place of simply being. And I'll remind you, or let you know for those who didn't, that the journey that Jacob was on was a journey of atonement. He was heading home to make peace with his brother. So on the other side of that river, on the other side of that wrestling, is restored relationship, newness, strength, forgiveness, acceptance. I started out confessing to you today that all of my sense of inadequacy and humility is walking into this place the first time, and the music and the grandeur. I felt like I was on the other side of excellence. Excellence was over there. I was over here. The worship planning team has heard me wrestle with this for the years that I've been here. And I've come to a place of recognizing that it doesn't have to be either classical music or folk tunes. That it's not an either or. That excellence is a fullness. It's both a letting go and an embracing. The song we sang for our opening hymn today, Fred reminded those of us sitting up here that it's a song that's sung at seminary graduations in Unitarian Universalist circles. It's also a song that's frequently sung at ordinations. And I didn't have it sung at mine because I thought it sounded too pompous. Rank by rank again we stand, from the four winds gathered hither. Usually the clergy march in their robes down the aisles. Instead, I had gathered here in the mystery of the hour with drums. People said, you're not having rank by rank? No. And how humbling then today when we sang it, both to discover it's a new hymn for this congregation, but that it's also good to be sung on the piano, which is a little bit less grand than the beautiful organ that I've come to admire. I'm aware of the other side of excellence whenever I attend festivals like the Festival of the Arts here downtown. So many acts, so wonderful, many amateur, many volunteer. Are we willing to risk to get to the other side of excellence? Are you willing to risk, those of you between 75 and 100? Are you willing to risk to get to the other side of excellence? The poet Lisa Colt said, "My teacher says you've got to stink first." I tell her, I don't have time to stink. I'm 64 years old. I either go directly to perfection or I go nowhere. My teacher says perfection is nowhere. So stink. Stink like a beginner. Stink like decaying flesh, old blood, cold sweat, she says. I know a woman who's 86, and last year she learned to drive. Being willing to risk stinking is also part of the journey. part of detachment. Letting go of our pride in order to reach ego integration and that trace of despair that Erickson suggests. Framed in these ways, the tasks of aging are indeed, as Fred started this morning, to step outside of ourselves, to make space. The tasks for religious community and for community that would include folks in this later part of life is to de-ghettoize, to make spaces that are multi-generational, that include and incorporate people of all ages. Part of why our early worship service that will start in the fall is going to be so exciting. Kids will be able to attend without interfering with their learning ministries. From the inside, the tasks of aging are being willing to stink again, doing the wrestling, sending those things across the river, letting go, and at the same time sharing wisdom, discovering the ways in which age is indeed better, as Rod McEwen wrote. I have been young, he said, a fresh-faced sprout with agile legs, a muscled arm and smile to charm the world I went through in a rush to get a little older sooner. Catching my reflection while passing past a looking glass not long ago, I discovered I was older, even old. There was no sudden melancholy or regret, and yet some sadness in the wonder that it happened while I wasn't watching. No pause to proudly ply the autumn into winter process. Imagine, nothing changed. I run as fast, I think a little faster, and yet forget at times what I went after there as I left here to get it. This while crossing half a room, not half a lifetime. So I've been young and I've been old, and I've determined old is better. Youth unfolds like coy Cleopatra from a rug, spilling all its golden wonders at the foot of age, who seems to envy everything, especially spring. The young pledge anything to get an audience, delivering sometimes, mostly not, on their way before the promissory note comes due. Can you blame them as they hurry off, afraid another runner may beat them to the score ahead, leaving nothing to be scored? Age is ofttimes better. Feeling in its failing health that wealth of life eluded it. Apologize somebody or something for leaving me to find the way I never found or could not find because it was not there or never was. But having seen the surge of youth, the sag of age and breast and chest and everything, I still say spring is overrated. Age is better. Less is expected of the once firm chest that drags a little lower, the robust voice reduced to murmur, speaking slower. Age can finally say aloud what it really feels and thinks in after-dinner company or crowd. No one blinks. If they do, no matter. Age erases pretense, replacing it with honesty. Age is proof you got from there to here. Alas, so many that you loved did not complete the journey. You mourn them, yes, and always will. But age is such a triumph over youth. Again, because you moved across the years to get here, leaving there where it belongs, for youth to come along and rediscover. And so may we, this day, practice those acts of letting go, discovering here for there, and taking each one of us our rightful place in the family of things.